All right, just waiting for the video to kick in just to make sure that it's working. And usually about 7 any second now. I don't know if you guys are seeing this or not. This is weird. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Bumpkins here with Comics Daily Weekly, issue number 23. Today I'll be talking about Marvel Comics from June of 1968. Just real quick, if you don't know what Comics Daily Weekly is, it is a weekly stream that I do talking about all of the Marvel comics that I've read throughout the week. So basically what I do is I run two different social media accounts right here at underscore Comics Daily on Twitter and underscore Comics Daily IG on Instagram. And I read one or two Marvel comic every single day. Comics every single day. And basically I read 1 month's worth of titles in a week. So this week, like I said, we're talking about comics from June 1968. Last week we talked about comics from May 1968. Next week we'll be talking about comics from July 1968. So you get the idea. The whole point is to experience these comics as they came out back in the day. So we can see new character appearances. We can see new creative teams come on the books. We can see character developments, relationships form, relationships lost, that kind of thing. So, I just wanted to, I started this back in May, or actually before that, I think. But I just wanted to experience these comics as they came out to a new reader back in the day. So, most of these, I know a lot of the big stories, but I actually haven't read each and every single one of these. So that's what I've been doing for the last several months. And here on YouTube for the last 23 weeks. So we are going to get... Oh, just real quick, too. I'm experimenting now because I used to read 6 books a week, and now it's up to 9, now that there's 9 books coming out. And that's not even all the Marvel comics. I'm not reading X-Men. I'm not reading Thor. I'm not reading Submariner. There's a few of them. So now that there's more and more books coming out, I'm going to start experimenting with how I do this a little bit. So used to I would spend a pretty good amount of time talking about each book, but that's getting to be quite a bit now. I don't want these videos to be lasting, an hour or more. So I'm probably going to be a little bit more brief on these books just to give you the overall talking points. And it's kind of hard to talk in depth about some of them anyway, because there's not a lot that happens in these old books. These aren't like big event books like we're used to now. There isn't some major development that happens in every one of them. A lot of these are one and done. Good guy fights a bad guy, and that's it. So I'll probably be starting to gloss over these just a little bit more. But I promise that if anything major happens, I'll talk about it. Think of it as the NFL red zone. You're not going to miss anything good, and we'll skip over all the boring stuff. So anyway, let me tell you what books we're going to be talking about this week. Again, these are from June 1968. We're going to be talking about Amazing Spider-Man number 61, Daredevil number 41, Iron Man number 2, Captain America number 102, Incredible Hulk number 104, Avengers number 53, Fantastic Four 75, Captain Marvel number 2, and Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 1. So we are done for now with the 2-for-1 books, the Tales of Suspense, which was Captain America and Iron Man. We're done with Strange Tales, which was Nick Fury and Doctor Strange. Now we are into everybody having their own book, and I think it's going to stay that way for a good while. So let's start with Amazing Spider-Man number 61. This is the third and final part of the story we've been reading over the last couple of weeks, where the Kingpin is known as the Brainwasher, and he brainwashed some VIPs at his club. Most notable among them was Captain Stacy. We learned over the course of the last couple of issues, or actually last issue, we learned that he brainwashed Captain Stacy for the purpose of breaking into, or not really breaking into, but gaining access to police headquarters for the purpose of stealing some sensitive police files. Now, I'll go ahead and tell you, we never learn what he wanted with those police files. Like, it never says what's in them. I can only assume that it's maybe files about the Kingpin's shady business dealings. I don't know, because they never told us. But that's what I tell myself. But basically, Captain Stacy is starting to get his memory back. He's starting to come to. And if you guys remember, Gwen is like super ticked at Peter because she thinks that Peter attacked her dad, which he kind of did, but Captain Stacy attacked him first because he was still brainwashed at the time. So she saw Peter do that, and then at the end of last issue, Peter took he sold the pictures of Captain Stacy breaking into the police station, getting those files. He sold those to the Bugle. The Bugle ran with him, so now everybody knows, oh my gosh, Captain Stacy, he's a bad dude. So Captain Stacy, now that he's coming to his senses again, he decides to go on the run, which doesn't sound like something that he would do. But he and Gwen go on the run. And the Kingpin's goons are out looking for them because Kingpin really wants Captain Stacy back. And again, I don't know why. Kingpin, maybe it's because Kingpin, I don't think, ever got the files. Or if he did, we didn't see it. I don't know. That's the thing. Is like, I don't really know. Kingpin's motivation for this whole 3-part story is never explained to us. So we just sort of have to take it at face value that it is what it is. So Kingpin really wants Captain Stacy back. He sends his goons after him. You know, the most notable thing here is, well, I'll get to it in a second, because there is something interesting that happens in this issue. And right here with Norman Osborn looking at a picture of the Green Goblin, and up here, you can imagine what that might be. We'll get to that in a minute. But Kingpin has now set up shop. He's moved all of his equipment into a secret lab inside Osborn Industries, which is kind of weird. It's like, wouldn't Norman Osborn know that something crazy is going on inside of his company? But I guess he doesn't. A lot of this right here, a lot of Norman Osborn sort of kind of remembering things about himself and Green Goblin. But and we get a little bit of a flashback too. But Spider-Man eventually tracks down the Kingpin just as the Kingpin's goons track down Captain Stacy and Gwen. So they get detained. The goons bring them back, as you can see right here. They bring them back to the new lab in Osborn Industries. Osborn, is it Oscorp? Is it called Oscorp back then? I don't remember. But like I said, Spider-Man tracks them down too. So a battle ensues at Oscorp. And Spider-Man's trying to rescue Captain Stacy and Gwen Stacy. Norman gets pulled into the fray too. And again, at this point, he still doesn't remember anything about his time as the Green Goblin, but it's starting to come back to him. So on this page, you can see right here, Norman Osborn jumps in to keep the Kingpin scientist from shooting whoever it was he was aiming at, I think with one of the Stacys. And he gets caught in an explosion. And you can see on the next panel, he's a little bit woozy down here. Right there, he's a little bit woozy. So you can get the idea of what is about to happen. Because again, through this whole issue, he's been starting to have a little bit of an inkling of or he's been having these visions and these thoughts about the Green Goblin and Spider-Man, but he doesn't know why. And then he gets caught in an explosion. Where's this going? Meanwhile, Spider-Man rescues the Stacys. Norman appears right here to shake it off. But more to come on that. I think we get a little bit of it in the next issue too, number 62, which I read yesterday, and we'll be talking about next week. But this whole brainwasher story gets wrapped up here. Captain Stacy is acquitted of any wrongdoing. The Kingpin gets away. And Gwen is still pissed at Peter. So we get a little bit more of that next issue as well. So this was a good 3-part story. Obviously the Green Goblin is going to come back as a result of this. But the fact that we don't know what Kingpin's motivation was for even brainwashing these people, that remains a mystery. And that took me out of it a little bit. I wanted to know a little bit more about why, what's he wanting to do? Why Captain Stacy specifically? I don't know. We just never got that answer. But it was a decent story. Next issue is really stupid. I'll go ahead and tell you that one right now. So next week, we'll skip through that. We'll fly through that one real quick because next issue is really dumb. But big things to come with that guy right there. All right, we're going to move on to Daredevil number 41. Now, this also is the climax of a story that we've been reading for the last couple weeks with a villain known as the Exterminator and the Unholy Three, Ape-Man, Catman, and Birdman. And, the Exterminator was the guy who had the time displacement gun. And, he shoots somebody with it. You get displaced in time. It looks like you vanish, but really you just get displaced in time by a few seconds, few minutes, or what have you. So Daredevil is stuck at the beginning of this issue as a result of last issue. He is stuck in his time prison as well. He's displaced in time, too. He is able to use his senses to get out of it. It was kind of a weak explanation as to how that happened. But while he's doing that, Foggy, who thinks his girlfriend Deb Harris is still vanished, he wants to get his hands on the Exterminator so he can find out where she went. How does he get her back? So he concocts this plan. I talked about this a little bit last week. I jumped the gun last week. So Foggy concocts this plan that I am going to run an ad in the paper saying that I know who the Exterminator is. He doesn't really, but he's going to say that he does, which is going to draw the Exterminator out, and then he can attack the Exterminator and get some answers. So that's exactly what happens, and you can see here. So here's Deb. She actually tries to reach out to Foggy. She looks like the Invisible Woman right now. Looks like Sue Richards, but this is the depiction of she's still displaced in time. She's off by a fraction of a second. They do this kind of stuff like in The Flash a lot. So she looks like she's invisible, but really she's just phased out of time a little bit. So Foggy, he goes to the park, is waiting for the Exterminator to come out. The Unholy Three get a hold of him. Meanwhile, Daredevil is able to pull himself out of his temporal prison, but he's still shifted like a half second out of time as well. So I like Gene Colan's depiction of what this looks like. So whereas on those last few pages, we saw Deb was sort of invisible looking, kind of phased out. Now we get that same effect, but from Daredevil's point of view, where he looks normal and everything else is sort of invisible looking and phased out. Guys, the way this whole storyline with temporal displacement and all this stuff, it was so out of place in a Daredevil comic, and it shows right here with the way Daredevil gets out of his temporal phase is he manages to latch onto a car, and the car pulls him out of it. You can see right here. Here's where it happens. It was really dumb, but how else are you going to explain it? So whatever, it was fine. So he manages to track down the Exterminator. Now, keep in mind, we're still in the long overdrawn story of Daredevil is really Mike Murdock, Matt Murdock's twin brother. Even though Mike Murdock isn't a real character, it's really Matt Murdock pretending he's Mike Murdock. Daredevil tracks down the Exterminator, rescues Foggy, takes out the Unholy Three, fights the Exterminator, destroys the time displacement weapon, machine, what have you. And it explodes. And he uses that as a way to fake Daredevil, a.k.a. Mike Murdock's death. Which automatically, as ridiculous as this story is, automatically makes this the best Daredevil story in the history of the world. Because Mike Murdock is gone. We are done with Mike Murdock until Charles Soule brings him back in like 2017? 18, I think it was late 2017. Charles Soule, darn you brought Mike Murdock back, but that was way different. It was way better. So Mike Murdock, for all intents and purposes, is dead now, and supposedly so is Daredevil. But that gets addressed more next issue. Whatever, I don't care. Mike Murdock is gone. That's fantastic, because Mike Murdock was the dumbest thing ever and should never have happened. We're going to move on to Iron Man number 2. So, like I said, we are out of the 2-for-1 books now, the double features. Iron Man's in his own book. And not a strong start. Iron Man number 2 almost should be the start of Iron Man's solo run, because Iron Man number 1 was the wrap-up of the whole Magia AIM story that we were reading since Tales of Suspense number 97 or 98. It led into the Iron Man Submariner one-shot. So Iron Man number 1, we talked about it last week. That was the end of that. So Iron Man number 2 is the start of new stories. However, like I said, not a strong start because I feel like we're backsliding. I feel like we are stepping way, way, way back into some of the old school Tales of Suspense stories with Iron Man. So the whole gist of this is that guy right there, I don't even remember his name. That's how forgettable he is. He is sort of a rival weapons contractor, and he's mad that Tony Stark always gets all the good contracts, and he's left in the dust, right? So his brilliant plan is, because it's the 60s, say it with me, kids, every villain in the 60s has a giant robot, and he has one too, and he sends it out to attack Tony Stark, and that's it. That's like the whole issue, right? So he sends this out to attack Tony on his boat. Tony suits up as Iron Man, the battle ensues, and then the rest of this issue is Tony and this thing, what's it called? The Demolisher? No. Hang on, I'll tell you. It is called the, yes, it is the Demolisher. And yeah, the whole issue is just Iron Man fighting the Demolisher, and we've seen this time and again. This almost looks like a shot-for-shot remake of Iron Man's fight with Titanium Man in Tales of Suspense it was in the 70s, maybe the 80s, where Iron Man, or where Happy learns that Iron Man is Tony Stark. More on that next issue as well, that I read today. But yeah, it's just a fight between one armored guy and then a robot. And of course, this drains Tony's power because like I said, we're backsliding. We're just stepping way back. We're picking up old habits. Iron Man's out of power all the time, and he's it's affecting his heart. No, I'm gonna die. That gets addressed next issue as well. Next issue is probably the better one to talk about, so we'll get there next week. The only thing that makes this a little bit different is that the guy, I can't remember his name, he's so forgettable, and you'll see why. He realizes that the robot that he made is kind of starting to go a little bit out of control and attacking his daughter. So this scientist actually, Cord. Mr. Cord. I don't remember his first name, but his last name is Cord. Not Ted Cord, the Blue Beetle. That's with a K. This is with a C. But he realizes that the robot is a little bit out of control. So he actually helps sabotage the robot so that Iron Man can destroy it. But in doing so, right here, the robot zaps him and he dies, actually. So we never... Well, unless he comes back, I don't know. But as of right now, we're on track to never see this guy again because he is dead and gone, as is his robot right there. And that's it. I mean, this was a one and done between Iron Man and a robot. And, nothing, not much to write home about. It was kind of silly. Like I said, we're not making a lot of progress. We're moving backwards in Iron Man. So hopefully things happen, the things that happen in the next issue, Iron Man number 3, which we'll talk about next week, I'm hoping that will help start moving the story of Iron Man forward. All right, so moving on to Captain America number 102. So this is the finale of the 2 or 3 part story we've been with now, where the Red Skull returns and awakens the 4th Sleeper, which is another robot. Big shocker. I'm serious, guys. Excuse me. Every comic in the 60s was giant robots. That's all it was, right? I don't know if, I guess the comics code up there, maybe that's, they couldn't show too much violence between humans, so it all had to be robots. I don't know. But yeah, so this is the culmination of that story. Iron Man, Tony Stark, Captain America, Steve Rogers. At the end of last issue, he was floating in the sea after the Red Skull's island base exploded. Red Skull gets away, and S.H.I.E.L.D. apparently, we don't see it, but that's okay. They rescue Captain America from the sea. He's recuperating, and he knows that this thing is still a danger, right? This sleeper robot is still a danger. You know what? Real quick too. You know why I really like this issue, and I don't think I mentioned it on Twitter, but I want to show you. I think this is the first issue where, let me see if there's a better picture. Well, let's just do it right here. This is the first issue. Jack Kirby on pencils, and Jack Kirby's a legend. But up until now, it's always bothered me because Captain America's cowl has like eye cutouts, right? And he doesn't have the domino lenses. You can see his eyeballs, right? Well, up until now, they've always been pure white with just the eyes drawn in, and the eyes haven't been colored. So that means that the mask fits his eyeballs perfectly. So they must like come up on his eyelids and everything because you don't see anything except eyeball. And I don't know how well you can tell it here, but like I noticed, this is just one of the weird things I noticed, and this is why we're reading comics this way, so we can see trends and evolutions in art and things like that. All throughout this issue, you can finally see like part of his face around his eyes, which is how it should be. And also his eyes finally get colored in this issue. So Cap is starting to look better. Just that small little detail. I know it sounds silly, but just that something that small really sort of helps bring the art and the imagery of Captain America to the next level. Because all before now, it's just been... So basically, just imagine the white domino mask lenses with eyeballs drawn on them, but not colored in. That's what Captain America has looked like up until this point. And now we're finally getting a little bit more detail, which I really like. So, anyway. Enough about Captain America's dreamy eyes. So, they know that they still have to stop this sleeper robot. And they do. I mean... Captain America, with Agent 13's help, she still hasn't told him her name. So if we were in the 60s, we still wouldn't know. Or I don't know if back in the 60s they figured it out. You know, oh, here's a good one. See what I mean? See, you can really see like the skin, like part of his face around his eyes, which is fantastic. That looks so much better. Let's see. So where were we? So the sleeper actually attacks a military base. And Captain America and Agent 13 go to stop it, right? And they fight off some of Red Skull's goons. And then they actually have to contend with the sleeper itself. Now, they do have this sonic key or a crystal. I can't remember what they call it, but it's like a crystal key kind of thing that somehow is supposed to let them control it. I love this panel right here, though. Look at this. Boom. And there's so many of these shots of Captain America throughout the years of him holding his shield, his whole body like this, and he's putting his shield and just, you know, trying to hold back whatever is pounding on him. That is an awesome panel. So yeah, they fight the sleeper. The sleeper is kicking the crap out of Cap. He's about to be done for. And then here in these middle couple panels, Agent 13, my darling Steve, her love basically causes this sonic crystal to somehow vibrate, which makes the sleeper vanish right here. And that's it. So it was very anticlimactic. I don't know how that worked. There was no explanation, and that's fine, I guess. Now, what we do get is we do get the Red Skull. You know, he wasn't captured. He now sees here that he says, every man has an Achilles heel, and the Star-Spangled Avenger is no exception. Now that I have seen the girl he loves, it is she who will cause his downfall. When the curtain falls for the final time, only the Red Skull will remain alive. So he now sees that Cap has a thing for Agent 13, and he is going to go after her, presumably. I think that's what happens next issue. I'm actually reading that one tomorrow, and we'll talk about it next week. So it's a decent wrap-up, I guess, but I didn't like the sleepers, the first three from Tales of Suspense 72 through 74. I didn't like this one either. So kind of a weak start to the Captain America books too, but I think it's going to get better once. We are probably like 4 months away from the Falcon coming in. I think next issue is actually where Agent 13 finally tells Cap her real name. I might be wrong about that, so don't quote me. But I'm hoping that that's going to open the door for some new stories. All right, so we're going to move on to the Incredible Hulk number 104. Now, I actually haven't even read that much just solo Incredible Hulk in my life. I mean, I read Planet Hulk. I read some here and there in the 90s, Peter David's run with Smart Hulk and all that. I read some of the shorter-lived series, the one that Mark Silvestri did the first couple issues on. I haven't read Immortal Hulk yet, but just overall, I haven't even read that much Hulk. And I wasn't sure if I was going to like these old issues, but guys, I'm here to tell you, this, after Spider-Man, this was, you know what? This or Spider-Man. Spider-Man is usually my favorite every week. But this might be tied for my favorite. I actually really liked this issue of the Hulk because it's the Hulk versus the Rhino, which is the battle that I didn't know that I needed. Obviously, the Hulk wins. The Hulk, the Rhino is big and strong and formidable, but he's not Hulk level big, strong, and formidable. But this was so much fun. This was just like, and I'm hoping like more of the Hulk issues like this because I may have been, really missing something, not reading these old Hulk issues. So this is just a big slugfest, just a big, two titans going at it. So basically, at the end of last issue with the space parasite, which was ridiculous, that one wasn't good. Maybe it gets good with this. The Hulk turned back into Bruce Banner, who was captured by the military, which is pretty interesting. I didn't even realize that the military knew that Banner was Hulk this early on. Like, I had no idea. I thought that was way later. So that's real. That right there is really cool. There is a couple of goons who work for an organization. I don't know what organization that is, but that organization wants Bruce Banner because they want his knowledge of gamma radiation. I don't know why. They say that it'll be useful to whatever it is they're doing, but we don't really get an explanation. Really, it's just an excuse for these guys to hire the Rhino, power him up again in a new Rhino suit, and this is a cool panel right here, though. And send him off to capture Bruce Banner. And they actually tell him, you might have to fight the Hulk, but you're actually after Bruce Banner. We want Banner, not the Hulk, because we want Banner's knowledge of gamma radiation. So that's a cool shot of the Rhino. I like big animal Rhino instead of big like Rhino mech suit Rhino. I like the animal version better, which is what we have most of the time. So up until we get probably to like the 2000s, which is going to be like decades from now because we're only doing 1 month a week. This will be our version of the Rhino that we get. So, and the rest of this is just the Rhino heading out after, trying to get Bruce Banner. He, has to fight his way through the military because the military has Banner in custody. But as you may well know, this sort of sets off Banner. They actually do manage to capture him. They get him up in a helicopter, but then he changes to the Hulk, and he brings the helicopter down. And you get panels like this. Look at this. This is so cool. The Rhino and the Hulk going at it. And it really shouldn't have been as close as it was. But it was just so cool, guys. I really just... This was just pure fun. This was a fun book to read because it was just, like I said, two big powerhouses slugging it out, throwing trucks and planes at each other, jumping buildings, the Hulk rescuing Betty, slamming the Rhino to the ground like that. Look at this. Just so much fun. So much fun. This was a one and done issue. No convoluted storyline to go along with it. Oh, and we do get something too. Hulk pummels the Rhino, as you may well expect. But then the Hulk says, "Well, I'm not gonna leave you to die in these flames that we've caused. I'm gonna pull you out of here." And the Hulk, and I love this this shot of the Hulk. This is so good. Hulk saved your life, and you still call him names? You still challenge Hulk? Then by Hulk's hand, you'll die. Because all he wanted in the panel before that was... all he wanted was the Rhino to admit that the Hulk is stronger. And the Rhino is still jawing at him. And the Hulk says, "Okay, well, I'm going to kill you then." Now he doesn't, obviously. But, the Rhino gives it one last shot, and the Hulk just pummels him. And we get this shot of the Hulk, too. Threats don't scare Hulk. I'll get the girl. Now, the only thing that bothers me about this is the Hulk speaks in first and third person. Threats don't scare Hulk. I'll get the girl, one way or the other. So pick one. Whether either say threats don't scare me or say threats don't scare Hulk. Hulk get the girl unless Hulk hear her say that she hates Hulk. See right there, unless I hear her say she hates the Hulk. Pick one, Hulk. But that's an awesome shot. I mean, oh guys, this was so much fun. This was at least tied for my favorite book. And I think I may have even had more fun with this one than Spider-Man this week. Only because of that stupid, we don't know why Kingpin wanted Captain Stacy. But this was so much fun, guys. I am actively looking forward to reading the Hulk next week. Now, I don't know if they're all going to be this fun. But this one was fun. I like this one a lot, guys. Hulk number 104. Bravo. All right, so now that... so the way I've rearranged my reading schedule is Daredevil and Spider-Man on Sundays. I kind of feel like Daredevil and Spidey sort of go together. Then we get Iron Man, Captain America, and Hulk. 3 Avengers or Avengers-related characters on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Thursday, we tie all that to get all those Avengers characters together with the Avengers, which still isn't good after 53 issues. So this one, this one should have been good. This one should, Avengers versus X-Men? No way. That's awesome. Big shocker. Marvel heroes versus heroes. That's a trend that... Wait a minute. What's up with Black Panther's ears? You see that? They look like little... I don't know. Anyway. Heroes versus heroes. It gets super old, super quick. This should have been good, but unfortunately it wasn't great. Now this actually, I didn't know this when I started reading it, but this actually is sort of the second part of X-Men number 45, which I'm not reading X-Men, and you don't really need it to understand this because the Avengers don't even show up in X-Men 45 until the very tail end of that, which dovetails into this. But they are on the search for Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, who we last saw run off with Magneto. In X-Men 45, the X-Men actually find Magneto and Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. And there's a whole thing in that comic is mostly Cyclops versus Quicksilver. And then, like I said, at the end... I just noticed this at the bottom. This is upside... Why is this upside... let's see. Why is this upside down? You see that? This like the credits, and at least that's what happened to George Tuska, inker, and Artie Simic, letterer. Oh, John Buscema, artist. This one's gonna flip. This one's gonna flip you. Okay, wow. All right. Oh man. So the Avengers do track down Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch. The X-Men are there as well. Now, this was actually all part of Magneto's plan to destroy the Avengers by way of the X-Men. The Magneto actually lured the Avengers there, and because he knew that they were inside a Marvel comic, and inside Marvel comics, heroes fight heroes all the time. I guess that's why he did it. So that's not true. I mean, he actually manages to sort of kind of brainwash the X-Men into attacking the Avengers. So what really set me off, I nearly threw my iPad through the window when I was reading this. Because somewhere in here, for no reason, right here, just out of literally nowhere, the Avengers start fighting each other, start bickering with each other again. Hawkeye is bickering with Goliath. And then Black Panther tries to step in and they threaten him too. You can see this is Goliath throwing Black Panther right here. I nearly snapped my iPad in half. I nearly quit reading Avengers right there, even though we're about to get to the good stuff with Vision and all that. Because once again, like, the Avengers are so unlikable. Like, they have been a team for 53 issues. And they still can't get along. It's ridiculous. So hold that thought. So the Avengers are bickering, right? And, we get a lot of Magneto berating Toad in this issue. Like, a lot of Magneto grandstanding, which isn't super great. But this is where, I can't remember how he does it, but Magneto actually brainwashes the X-Men. And they attack the Avengers. And from there on, we get a pretty decent fight between the Avengers and the X-Men. It was pretty cool. And then, somewhere near the end, the Avengers reveal right here. Let's see. I just know you're dying for an explanation. We'll tell you. Guess the let's see. Oh. Then the tiny wasp whispered our plan into his ear and told him to follow. Later, we pretended to quarrel to lure you into a rash, ill-timed attack. So, the Avengers bickering with each other was staged. Okay, right? Whew, good. However, and I made a note on this on Twitter. I said, still, the fact that it's happened so much in the past that I couldn't tell if it was real or not, that's a problem. Because they've actually, this has been legitimate. They fought with each other so many times legitimately that I can't ever tell when it's fake or not. So, just, and then from here on out, it's all of them attacking Magneto, Quicksilver, and Scarlet Witch. Oh, you know what? Magneto doesn't escape. Toad does. Toad runs away. He actually, because he's had enough of Magneto's crap, and Magneto falls in the water. His helmet's left there. I wonder if he survives or not. I guess we'll never know. And the Avengers fly away. And the Avengers and the X-Men fly away. And that's it. So, Avengers versus X-Men, that's pretty cool. But the way it was done in this one wasn't super great. So, next issue, the new Masters of Evil. Those are some of the few issues of Avengers that I like. And that was like number 12 around that area where they actually fight the Masters of Evil. And I like those. So hopefully those ones will be good. Vision's going to be popping up in the next 2-3 weeks, I think. So, hopefully that'll open the door. I keep saying it every week, and we're eventually going to get there. But we are getting close to the good Avengers stories. So we just got to buckle in. But so far, it hasn't been good. All right, so we're going to move on to Fantastic Four number 75. So this is the continuation of the story from last issue, where Galactus was searching for Silver Surfer because Galactus is hungry and he needs Silver Surfer to find him a planet to eat. Kind of like when my son is hungry, for breakfast and he wants like a peanut butter and jelly. He's waiting for me to make it. So, he sends the Punisher robot, not Frank Castle. He sends a Punisher robot after the Fantastic Four because he knows that they'll know where the Silver Surfer is. They defeat the Punisher robot. Meanwhile, the Silver Surfer has gone into hiding. And real quick, I did want to. I made a note of this on Twitter that apparently Galactus is working from home, just like the rest of us, full professional from the waist up, no pants from the waist down. That's how we've all been doing it. That's how I've been doing it for the last 4 years. That's how most people have been doing it since March when everything closed. Put some pants on, Galactus, because you look silly. Your legs look cold. So, a Silver Surfer actually has hidden himself in the microverse. Wait a minute. I thought we already saw that. Maybe I'm jumping the gun. Hold on. Let me not jump the gun. Let me not get ahead of the comic, I guess. So, yeah. So, we'll find out where the Silver Surfer is in a minute. Forget what I said. So, Galactus knows that the Fantastic Four are close with the Silver Surfer, and he wants to coerce them into talking. So he actually creates evil doppelgangers of the Fantastic Four, which made me feel like like I was reading the Infinity War crossover series from the 90s, not the movie, the actual crossover series, the second in the Infinity trilogy of crossovers and big events. Because in that series, all the heroes get evil doppelgangers of themselves as well. And they're having a tough time. The Fantastic Four are having a tough time beating their doppelgangers until they, because Reed's fighting evil Reed and Ben's fighting evil Ben. They all decide to switch villains, and they win. So here is where we see where Silver Surfer has gone. Silver Surfer has actually shrunk himself. Honey, I Shrunk the Surfer. He's actually shrunk himself down into the microverse. I don't know. I can't remember what they call it here. Yeah, the micro subatomic. What do they call? I don't remember what they call this. But if you think about the first and second Ant-Man movie, how they talk about growing smaller and smaller until you get into the quantum realm. That's basically what the Silver Surfer does here, but they don't call it the Quantum Realm. A lot of this here is just the good FF fighting the evil FF. They win. Reed pleads with Galactus to... Because Galactus gets tired of this and he hurls an asteroid at the planet. Reed manages to... He asks Galactus not to do that, and Galactus agrees. And then they say, we'll go... we know where the Surfer went, and we'll go find him. And then that's where they presumably jump into that machine, which I guess is going to take them into the microverse. And we'll see. So I didn't pick up on the fact that the Surfer used some of Reed's equipment to shrink himself. I thought that he used his own power cosmic to shrink himself, but I guess that's not the case. So I guess next issue is still going to be a continuation of this story, even though we're dealing with giant Galactus. We're now going to get itty bitty in the hunt for the Silver Surfer. So that we'll see some. I'm sure we'll get some interesting Jack Kirby visuals next issue. But we're going to move on to the two new books that I've added to my rotation: Captain Marvel and Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. So Captain Marvel #2. This starts a new story. Well, I think this is a one and done. But Captain Marvel #1, which continued on from Marvel Superheroes number 12 and 13, where Captain Marvel was actually fighting the Kree Sentry because the Kree Sentry was attacking a military base and was going to blow up the nukes or whatever. So now what we get with this story is that the Skrulls have gotten wind that Captain Marvel is on Earth. And they want to know why. Because the Krees and the Skrulls don't get along. You may have heard of this little thing called the Kree-Skrull War, which we'll actually, I think we'll get to by about the end of this year, I think, if my internal calendar is right. So we'll actually see that before too long. About a year from now. So the Skrull Emperor sends the Super Skrull to... Ooh, sorry. Sorry about that. That kind of came out of nowhere. It's only 9 o'clock. Why am I so tired? Sorry. So the Super Skrull goes to Earth to track down Captain Marvel. And they fight. And that's it. That's the whole issue, basically. I was trying to find anything else to talk about in this, but it's basically Captain Marvel versus the Super Skrull. And let's see. I can't, he saves a couple people, I guess. Like I said, like I said at the beginning of the show, some of these issues are hard to talk about because there isn't anything earth-shattering that happens. It's just a fight between a good guy and a bad guy. And this is one of those. I was just trying to see if this actually continues to the next issue. We get some more Carol Danvers, which is cool. This does continue. So the Super Skrull actually manages to beat Captain Marvel. And the cliffhanger is that the landlord or the owner of the hotel that Captain Marvel is staying in his human guise, that guy stole Captain Marvel's round cylindrical briefcase. And it has sort of a tamper-proof device on it where if you start tampering with it, it'll explode. A nuclear detonation will go off in a couple hours. And that's what the cliffhanger is I guess the device was set off. So in a couple hours, it's going to be like a nuclear bomb went off. And Captain Marvel is unconscious. A Super Skrull has him in custody. And we'll see what happens. So like I said, I didn't spend a lot of time on that one, but it's basically a big slugfest between Captain Marvel and Super Skrull. And Captain Marvel gets beat, and we'll have to find out what happens next issue. But that was it. I mean, that's all there is to this one. I like this title so far. I don't love it as much as some of the others. I'll probably stick with it, but, we'll see. So last but not least is Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. #1. So we skipped last week because the week before that was Strange Tales #168, which was the weird end to Nick Fury in that book. And then nothing from Nick Fury last week for May 68. And then now we've got Nick Fury in his own title for June 68. So this one started... Now, I will say this. Even though Nick Fury is in his own book, it's still Jim Steranko writing and drawing it. And this continues to be, the visual storytelling in this book continues to be leaps and bounds ahead of any other book that was out at this time. I mean, you can see right here, who is Scorpio carved into this big tower thing that Nick Fury is breaking into. And the cool thing is so the first 2 pages, we get no words. Jim Steranko lets the art and the pictures tell the story. And until you get this weird thing where it's actually, we've been watching an LMD break into this place, and then the real Nick Fury sneaks up and kills him. Guys, this issue was weird though. Like, I know what they were going for, but the execution wasn't great. So it introduces this new villain or organization known as Scorpio. Now, I actually think that this is the same Scorpio that popped up in Dan Slott's run of Spider-Man, the Spider-Man Worldwide, where Peter actually is a billionaire, and instead of just patrolling New York, Spider-Man is global now. He actually fights this same organization, and so that was pretty cool. I think it's the same guys anyway. So this is so weird. So basically what they try to do with this, you know the movie Crash with Sandra Bullock and a whole bunch of other people that I don't remember. And that whole movie is a bunch of seemingly unrelated stories of characters that don't know each other. And then at the end of the movie, all those stories converge. That's what they try to do here. So we get this guy who is in debt with the mob and he's got a gambling problem. We get this guy who is a race car driver, and you can see here, this book doesn't zoom in properly either. You can see on his wrist, he's got the Scorpio symbol. That never comes back. I don't know why this page is even here, unless it comes back next issue or something. We get a story of Nick Fury testing this suit that actually puts a shield around him. That green-looking guy over there, who is working for S.H.I.E.L.D., presumably, he's got the Scorpio logo, so it's almost like a Hydra infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of thing. And I thought there was one other story, too. This is a cool splash page. Like, we actually get Nick Fury busting in on Scorpio. It's a man, not an organization, sorry. That's the guy. And see, in Dan Slott's Spider-Man run, Spider-Man fights a guy with that same weapon. But I don't know if that's that same guy, so I'm not sure. But, guys, I'm not doing a great job explaining this issue because it was weird. It was so hard to understand. Like, the guy with the gambling problem is mistaken for this guy down here, who is a mobster, and the guy with the gambling problem actually gets a case of money meant for the mobster guy. They get in a gunfight, and then the bullet somehow hits this thing that Fury and Scorpio are in, and it explodes. And then it ends with the guy with the gambling problem saying, "It's all good, we've got this money now, and our luck is starting to turn around." I am at a loss for words as to what. But then he dies. Then the phone booth blows up. I don't know. I don't know what happened in this issue. I don't know anything about. Oops, I can't tell you. I mean, that's all I got. I don't know what. So I think what they tried to do was they tried to make it to where all these smaller stories converged at the end, but there was the extra story with the race car driver that didn't figure in at all. We saw a couple of guys with the Scorpio like tattoo or sticker or whatever on their wrist. I don't know what that means. Surely to goodness, this whole Scorpio thing is going to come up again. I don't know if it's going to be next issue or what, but it was weird, guys. So I liked the visual storytelling, but I didn't think much of the story because it was so weird and confusing. I just didn't get it. I didn't get it. But that is where we are going to leave off for this week. 9 books, and we'll be doing... Actually, I want to say next week we'll be doing 10 books because I think there's a Spectacular Spider-Man magazine. Yeah, we'll be doing 10 books next week, guys. So, like I said, I'm going to experiment with this show. I had some ideas for the whole Comics Daily thing that I might work on because it originally started just as me reading a comic, once a day, every day. And I was like, hey, let me read some of the old Marvel comics. And on Saturdays, I might read an Image comic, or I might read a DC comic, or I might read something else. I don't know. But now there's so many Marvel comics to read. Like, there's more than one a day. So it turns out that I'm doing nothing but, for this anyway, for Comics Daily, I'm doing nothing but reading Silver Age Marvel comics. And so there might be some changes in the works for these accounts, for this stream that I do every week, all that stuff. So I'm not too sure yet, but I don't know. I mean, I would like to be more brief with all of these books. Instead of maybe going panel by panel, maybe it's just like a 15-minute video about here's all the books that came out in June of 1968. Spider-Man, we're wrapping up the Kingpin storyline. Hulk fights Rhino. I don't know. So I'm going to keep working on it. But for now, I'll be here on Monday nights talking about these books. And yeah, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. So if you want to follow along with me as I read these every day, you can follow me at either of these accounts down here. We've got @_ Comics Daily. Don't forget the underscore at the beginning on Twitter, or _ Comics Daily IG on Instagram. That's where I post about these comics every day. Like I said, either one or two every day. Right now, it's Spider-Man and Daredevil on Sundays, starting the week, and then Captain Marvel and Nick Fury on Saturdays, ending the week. And those are the only 2 days where I have doubles, unless there's like an annual, and there's going to be some of those at some point. But yeah, follow me on either of these accounts, and you can follow along as I read these. And that's it, guys. I think that's everything I want to talk about. So, guys, I appreciate you watching. Oh, yeah, and if you like this video, maybe, or any of the videos on my channel, maybe hit the subscribe button. I do comic book haul videos every Wednesday, and I've got an idea for another series of videos that hopefully I'm going to start this week as well. Just sort of spotlighting comics that I think you might be interested in. Not a review show, not a spec show, nothing like that at all. Just, hey, here's a cool book that I read. Probably a lesser known book. Probably not going to talk about a lot of Marvel or DC, but probably more independent stuff. Hey, I read this cool story, and here's what it's about. You might like it too if you're looking for a good story. Maybe you want to read it. So I'm going to hopefully start those videos this week after I get my new stack of books on Wednesday. But yeah, so maybe subscribe to this channel if any of that sounds good to you. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a sarcastic thumbs up. And if nothing else, leave me a comment. Let me know what you're reading. Let me know if you're into the 60s Marvel comics, or if you like the Silver Age stuff, the Bronze Age, the Copper Age, the whatever, the Modern Age. What you're reading, what you like. And I love comic books. I could talk about it with a room full of people or just to a camera and nobody else. So, guys, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you following along with me on these accounts. Following these books with me. And until next week, stay safe, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.